black market pills for her first abortion. Her second pregnancy 2 years later was harder to terminate.
So I used knitting needles. It got to the point where I bled for 2 months. I had to go to the public hospital where I got help.
Anne's story is far too common in Kenya, where an estimated 7 women and girls die each day from unsafe abortions. Many who survive the procedures are left with severe complications, says Monica Agutu, founding executive director of the nonprofit healthcare organization KMET.
They bleed a lot from these damaged organs. We have seen cases that sharp object goes through the uterus.
The country's 2010 constitution now permits abortion in a narrow handful of circumstances, like for emergency treatment or if the life and health of the mother is endangered. But it's still confusing, even for physicians, says Dr. Ernest Nyamato, an associate director at the nonprofit IPAS. Kenya is also a very religious country, and abortion is highly stigmatized.
When you see this ambiguity, and as a medical provider, you take the safer road and say, let me provide these services, or let me allow other people to do it. So instead of accept this thing of this is a backstreet service, let it stay there.
Some government facilities do perform abortions. Private clinics also do, but they can be expensive, so women look for other, cheaper options.
For abortion, we have charged 3,500. If you have 2 months, you 3,500. If it's 5 months, you check 4,000.
Pamela is a traditional medicine vendor who charges women and girls between $27 and $31 for help. Pamela claims she stopped selling abortion-inducing herbs long ago. This type of denial is commonplace among black market actors offering illegal abortion-related services, both in person and on social media, where misinformation thrives. If the herbs don't work, a woman might turn to a quack doctor for help. This is a room in a back alley abortion clinic in one of Nairobi's informal settlements. Many of the people who work here claim to have medical training, but really have very little. They'll often use unsterile instruments like this to perform unsafe abortion procedures on women and girls, which can leave them either infertile or even lead to death. Samuel is a self-proclaimed doctor who offers surgical abortion to poor women with nowhere else to turn. We've changed his name because his work is illegal.
The challenge is, for example, when they want to interact with somebody who has just come for it, it has to be a secret because the government doesn't allow.
Many poor and indigent women who die from back alley abortions end up at public morgues. Abandoned fetuses often end up there too. Some of those fetuses are fished out of the river in Dandora, the slum where Anne lives. After her own 2 abortions, Anne helped other women and girls abort around 150 pregnancies using a rusty pair of knitting needles. She throws the fetuses in this river at night to avoid getting caught. Do you ever feel any guilt?
Yes, I do. That's because we're taking the life of young babies. But we have to do that because we have no other choice.
Since Kenya adopted its 2010 constitution, the country's judges have expanded abortion access through several major court decisions. But after Roe v. Wade was overturned in 2022 in the United States, abortion rights advocates became concerned that the same thing could happen in Kenya. One of the groups pushing for those decisions to be overturned is the Kenya Christian Professionals Forum, led by a constitutional lawyer named Charles Kanjama.
We believe that abortion is not care. Abortion doesn't save lives. Abortion takes lives.
Several cases are making their way through Kenyan courts, including one petitioning for unborn children's right to life and for equal protection and benefit of the law. A familiar argument in the United States' own abortion debate, says Martin Onyango, a lawyer at the Center for Reproductive Rights.
Those are not new tactics. Those are the same tactics being applied by the opposition group in the US, in various states, and also at the Supreme Court.
That's in part because the Kenyan anti-abortion movement is being bolstered by international groups, especially American groups, promoting conservative policies and ideology in Africa. These groups travel to Africa as speakers for events, and conduct anti-abortion training sessions. According to parliamentarian Esther Passaris, this type of campaigning is highly influential because politicians fear losing the support of important conservative voting blocs.
I think the idea that you will offend the church, the idea that you will lose votes if the church doesn't endorse you as a candidate.
There are huge sums of money flowing from American conservative groups into the continent of Africa. A 2020 investigation by Open Democracy revealed that $54 million flowed from U.S. Christian right groups to Africa between 2008 and 2018. Many of these groups are led by prominent American evangelicals with close ties to former President Donald Trump and his administration.
To protect the unborn, I have reinstated a policy first put in place by President Ronald Reagan.
Trump also reinstated and expanded the Mexico City policy, known as the Global Gag Rule, which restricts U.S. funding to any international organization that performs or even counsels on abortion. These policies emboldened anti-abortion advocates during his term.
They don't use federal funds to support pro-abortion organizations. So the noise of pro-abortion in our countries goes down.
They also created a chilling effect for Kenyan reproductive healthcare providers like KMED, who chose to lose $3 million in U.S. funding rather than stopping abortion-related services.
We had 15 staff that we laid off. It was the most difficult moment for me as the CEO of the organization.
With an American election around the corner, Kenyans on both sides of the issue are waiting to see which way the chips fall.
Depending on the government that is elected in the United States, we may have either continued progress in realizing reproductive rights, or we can go back. We can lose the gains that we have made.
The stakes are highest for Kenyan women and girls, who will feel the greatest impact if abortion rights are rolled back once again. For PBS NewsHour, I'm Neha Wadekar in Nairobi, Kenya.